Hello everybody, what's going on? Emo Tempest here, and coming to you with week 2 of the Maindeck online webcam tournament. This week we decided to play and test out Monofire, actually. I have been... so Monofire was actually one of the decks I had considered for the Materia Cup. It was testing well. It tests well into pretty much everything with the exception of the big, I guess this meta's big 3, right? We have the Wool 7, Warrior Lights, and Knights. And I know you're probably thinking right off the bat, then I'm like, those are the important ones, right? And yes, you're right. Every deck right now should be able to hold its own against any one of those 3 decks. And for the most part, the Monofire doesn't get crushed, which is what I was going to get into. The matchups are clearly more difficult for the most part when you're playing either one of those 3 decks, right? Like, I think for Knights it's probably the least. You have to see a Mott, obviously, and you have to see the Demon, obviously, but you do have other cards that help out a lot. This version that I built, which will be in the description for you guys can peek at the deck while you listen to me ramble about Monofire for a few minutes. It has some cards in for each of those matchups that specifically help the odds. For going really quickly into these, for the Knights, it is definitely, like I said, the Demon, the Jets. Well, the Jets aren't like specifically for that, but if you're able to get to the backups, then the Jets are really good at answering these things. There's a Squall. There is, let me think, sorry, I'm kind of blanking here. It's really mostly the Scion, the Amats, and the Demons, right? And that's actually the cards that you need for all 3 of those matchups. So I have them both at, I think it's like 3-3-2 split between the Demons and the Scions. You can alternate 3 or 2, whatever you're feeling. So my goal, in theory, is to kind of is to start with backups that generate crystals. The reason I say that is because we don't want to actually burn 3 cards when we decide to play the Scion for the 9k board clear. And so the biggest thing for me is trying to prioritize seeing these. So in this game, as you can see, that I opened the Samurai Knight and the Samurai backup as well. Honestly, this was a great opening for us in general. We're able to get to 4 backups on turn 2, which is, again, super ideal. And then we're good, right? Right now I can cast Jet for free. I'm in an optimal position to play any what are they? I think it's like the 1-cost Ifrits that deal 5k to things. And I can play something and still have CP to Amot, right? If I could end on like this by turn 3 every time, or like turn 2 4 backups and turn 3 goblins, we can definitely, I think the matchup will be extremely favorable into those 3, but that's not realistic. And so going into those matchups, you do have a lot of ways to hold them off. And again, it goes in decreasing order, right? Like against Warriors of Light, it's probably the toughest because they have more recursion. They play all the right things, right? They play the Mist Dragon and the Amats, and then they just they do the thing. Then after that would be Wool 7. Wool 7s are tough for sure, especially the KP versions, which I'll talk about in a second because it's one of my matchups for this week. It's just really hard because it gets there faster than you, right? And then you kind of just have to, survive. If you're able to survive, you can turn the game and keep, I guess, priority or initiative, whatever, however you want to put it, or keep the pace in your favor because you'll have the summon ready, you'll have the Ifrits ready, you'll have an Amat ready. And then against Knights, at any junction, as long as you're able to play the Demon, you kind of have it. As long as they don't obviously let you like freeze it and then you can't dull it somehow for like 3 turns. But the Demon does do a good job of clearing that out for the Knights deck for us. And it also plays Shinryu, right? So either way, you're able to search into those projects, into any of those like paths, right? and that's what I like about it. I know some people prefer the Tyvos build or the Wolf 7 build, but what I was playing this week was just a regular mono fire list with like an old-fashioned fire list with the Shinryu and then the Goblin stuff, right? The main thing for me when I played this one was being able to do the Mont and the Minwu stuff. So we have a lot of interesting targets for those, right? Like I have the Felthanos, I have the Ignacio. I wasn't sure at first why people were playing the Merilith, but I guess it makes sense now after doing some research. You want her for the Mont target, right? She'll come in, deal 8k, and then give Mont haste as well. It makes sense, but I don't like that card overall. It's like it's a 4 CP for a 5k that, you know, maybe kills something. It's rough. And so I took, you know, I messed around with some of the numbers. All the one-ofs in this list are, we're testing a Braska's Final Aeon. We have one of the Iluas you just saw. I have I think it's an Opus 18 Squall, the Ivana one, the Salsa one. I think one Ignacio, and then I want to say there's another one, but I can't remember right now. And so those are probably your flex picks. You can move into some of the other, you know, you can increase the numbers on anything you have on the list, obviously, or just, you know, play whatever you prefer. But I think when you take off the Tyvos and the Warrior stuff, you kind of leave room for a lot more flexibility. And that's why I built it this way. And I guess that's it for the matchup portion deck. It's favorable into a lot of other stuff, right? Like you can do well into water, lightning, earth, and then like all the rogue stuff, right? Like, you know, soirees. As long as Felthanos is live, you kind of deal with all the EX bursting stuff. It's really, and that's kind of the one you need for the Warrior of Lights. And it kind of jumped around a little bit, so sorry about that, guys. But lastly is, it's good. It's a solid deck. It always does well, but just never well enough, right? Because it gets choked up at some point. It's not as consistent, right? Because we don't have backup strings, right? Like some of these decks, like for example, Rydia. Like my opponent here is playing Ice Earth Discard. He has the Nero into the Whis. He has the Rydia into the Unalesca. He has, I don't know, probably something else in there. I can't remember. And he has stuff like Tyro, right? Like, and then all of those are like what I consider strings. Here, the strings are Goblin, which is honestly one of my favorite ones. Which is why I opt to put it into my modifier list. It definitely helps you. It comes from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like, or from playing other card games where I'm used to pulling things out of the deck as fast as I can, making the deck thinner, drawing what I need faster, right? And you always want to prioritize the goblins. Unless you're in a really bad spot, you never go Goblin into Princess Goblin. You'll always try to go Goblin. You'll do the full Goblin run. The last one is where it's up to you, right? You could either go the Hasty Goblin, which is the one you see on the board right now, or you can go to the Princess Goblin to search the Shinryu. Again, either way, you're getting up to 4 cards out of your deck, and it is what's the important part. Some people don't like the Princess Goblin because when you play the Shinryu, you lose it. But if you're in a commanding role, you can just search the Culinarian and replace it. And yes, it's kind of a waste of a Shinryu, but you're thinning, right? That's the whole point. You're going to see the other one faster. And so it has its benefits. It's also cool when you... a fun, like, tech or, like, play that I've gotten accustomed to doing when I play this deck. Sometimes I'll search the Princess Goblin, but I won't play it. And then I'll cast the Shinryu first on the next turn, whatever, search another something that I need, then play the Princess Goblin to get another light Shinryu. So I'll be holding Tidal Wave either way, but it goes around me losing the backup, so I can stay at 5 backups. And so I really like that. I know it sounds silly, but it's a play that I don't know, you know, people think about and stuff like that, but it's a workaround, right, to the effect that Princess Goblin has. And so it works out for us. We don't do it in this game. I think we do it I definitely do it this week, but I only recorded this one. I'm also going to keep this game shorter for you guys. I'm only going to give you 1 round. The last video was 42 minutes. I don't think anyone sticks around that long anyway. So I figured I'd give you something shorter here with more insight and more important stuff, right? Anyway, that's the deck. The matchups this week for main deck were Ice Earth Discard, which is what you see here. And then I played into a Mono Ice, and then I played into the Wool 7 KP list. I went 2-0. I went 2-1. I do win this one, the Ice Earth Discard. We'll get to it as we get closer to it. I'll talk about it. And then I also did surprisingly well against the Mono Ice. But I think also, if I remember correctly, that game was... I kind of had the same setup where I'm able to get to my backups right away. And he just... he scrambled a little bit. And then the Wool 7 one, which is actually the one I wish I'd recorded. That game went the distance. There was a lot of back and forth. I had choices to make that, I don't want to say they were misplays, but I always wonder if in a training session, I would have been able to express both avenues, like both paths, and see which line would have been better. But obviously, this is like a pseudo tournament. You can't do that, right? And so I obviously chose to. I chose what I thought was better at the time, but I still wonder if going the other option was right. And just to give you some context there, I chose to Tidal Wave over searching a Minwoo, going handless, and playing Jet on the board for free. So having 3 bodies instead of 1. But I cleared his board of 3 instead of 3 bodies to kill one of his, right? I was also worried about the Warrior, right? He had a 1 card in his hand, and I was worried about whether he would have the special, right? I don't actually remember anymore if he did or not. But so that's why I went with Tidal Wave. It's always, hindsight's always 50-50. But yeah. So overall, the deck did well into ice decks, which I found was interesting. Again, I was able to set up so their discard wasn't too impactful. And then the Wool 7 was a real grindy matchup, but I ultimately lost that one. So 2-1 this week. Total, I am X2 this league so far. I have 2 more weeks. I think actually next week I'm also playing Ice Earth, so if you're interested in that, make sure to be on the lookout for that one. Now, this matchup has been fun. So I was kind of in a dominating position from the beginning. He just recently got to 5 backups, like way into mid/late game. And so the ending's about to come up, which is why I'm going to switch gears into the matchup. If you've kind of been watching in the back while listening, he just got a modded for the Whis, and he's trying to do a Unalesca play to try to buy himself some time. So here I kind of ask him, what are your targets and how many you're doing? I kind of telegraph that I have the Amat. I have the second Amat. And so he only picks 2 to be cautious. And then he tells me I think he's going to do Shinryu and Ilua or something. Or those are his 2 targets or whatever. And then, yeah. So he has to pay the cost first. It is 2 autos. So he has to pay the cost first and then go into Ultimecia. And so right there I just said, nah, I'm good, fam. I'm just going to Amater. And then he's going to try to pass, and I have to kill it with a Goblin. I'd like to talk more about the Goblin stuff, but we're probably running out of time soon. But the Goblins and the Scions are just really good to, pick things off when you can't. I also love Fire for, the extra combos like Leftia Cyan, Amat Cyan. Leftia Amat, and pretty much Leftia any summon, any kill spell, right? Any spell, because it just does more damage. And yeah, we finished the Ultimate here. We're actually about to close the game out. See, he left himself tapped with 2 cards in hand. That tells me he can't cast anything. And I doubt he plays Cockatrice or Duke Snakeheart. So we're just going to go straight into Mont here to close out. And yeah. And this is the thing, right? You can't leave yourself this open, this vulnerable against Monofire, which is why I love it, right? It's super threatening on 5 backups, and I've just been poking out damage throughout the game. I don't actually care that he got a Tyro. Even if he had gotten something off the Tyro, because earlier I had Felthanos out when he hit it, and he couldn't resolve it. So yeah, we picked Felthanos and Minwoo there. He says, yeah, there's no way I beat that. I win there. there's no EX he could possibly do anymore. And that's the main strategy against like the Warrior of Lights, right? Because you know they have that extra value. The option is to always play Thanos and do the thing. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week. I'm not going to bore you too much longer. Thanks for watching for those who do, and thanks for listening if you made it this far. Let me know how you feel on Mono Fire. If you ever want to talk or discuss, Mono Fire stuff or any real decks, you can always hit me up in the comments, or if you have me on Discord, just PM me. Next week will be Ice Earth, or probably Earth variants. I don't know if I can stomach a whole week of Ice Earth, but yeah, I went 2-1 this week again, so total our record is 4-1. 4-2, and yeah, stay tuned for next week's video and anything else comes up. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.